have to apologize at the very beginning of this video. I think my rain jacket was rubbing up against the microphone, so it's making some popping noises. We're gonna go out and get some cleavers. First, I'm checking the ditches because I did see my little white-headed, albino-headed turtle out here. Oh, here he is. Here he is. Hold on one sec. There he is. Check him out. Oh yeah, he's loving it. Let's see if any of his friends have come out to play. No. Not seeing any others right now. Alright, check it out. Our dewberries are starting to flower. Those are the little white flowers there. This is all honeysuckle. It's Japanese honeysuckle. Yeah, I know, it's invasive, but yeah, it's popping. How about this over here? Can you recognize this? That's elderberry. Our Vitex plants are starting to pop. Oh, look at all those leaves. All right, we're going over to this patch of cleavers over here. Oh, see, you can start to see them. I actually brought a bowl out here with me because I'm going to pick a few. And I'm going to take them back to the kitchen, and I'm going to show you how we're going to prepare these. A couple different ways we can prepare them. But yeah, these here are cleavers. The botanical name for these is Galium aparine. Cleavers are slightly salty, bitter, and astringent. And that tells you that it probably goes to the liver and the kidneys. In traditional Chinese medicine, this herb is in the drain dampness category, and in fact, that's its chief action. So it's a premier diuretic and a stone softener. It's also considered a refrigerant, so it has a cooling effect, an alterative, so it assists the body in eliminating waste and restoring function. It's also known as a tonic and a lymphatic. So just knowing these things about this plant tells me it might be a good candidate and a formula for urinary infections, kidney stones, infections involving the reproductive organs. Yeah, and with these actions, you could also use this herb externally on wounds, sores, blisters, bug bites. So this is a very strong acting herb, so it's not one that you would use regularly, though it would be good as a simple infusion to drink in the springtime to help eliminate the sluggishness of winter. So that kind of brings me to five element theory. In Chinese healing medicine, there are many different systems to assess patterns and symptoms, and one of those is five element theory, or Wu Xing, which means five phases. This is based on natural cycles, and each phase is represented by an element and corresponds with a season. The spring element is wood, and as we are emerging from winter, spring is all about growth and emerging, and it correlates with the liver and the gallbladder. So this time of year is a good time to give these organ systems some support And we can do that by taking in a small amount of these herbs. I really had this image of myself coming out here and just being covered with cleavers, but it's raining, so I'm not going to do that. But you can see right here, they just stick to your clothes. Yeah, that is one of the identifying features of cleavers is they stick. They don't hurt you, they just stick. So, yeah, I'm going to gather some of these up right now. And then we're going to take them inside and we're going to talk a little bit more. I'm going to get out of the rain and we're going to talk about them a little bit more. Cleavers like to grow along fences and the edges of things. I think it's because they're looking for something to cling to. So you don't often find them growing out in the middle of fields. You'll find them along fence posts. See, they're kind of growing along this little pile of debris here. I'm just gathering enough to make a cold water infusion. I want to do a hot water infusion, and then I'm going to show you another way to preserve them. And I'm just kind of picking the tops. You can see we have plenty here. All right, I just want to tell the plants thank you for letting me harvest you. And yeah, we're going to go back and see what we can do with these. All right, so I'm going to show you how to do a couple of different things with our cleavers that we picked. These are different ways that you can use them and as well as preserve them. I did rinse these, but probably use a little more rinsing. You know, and I just pick off anything that's any of the brown spots. You don't really want to use that part of the plant. Okay. So one of the first things we can do is make a very simple infusion. So we can do a cold water infusion, and I'm just going to fill this up with filtered water from my Berkey. We could add other ingredients to this as well, like something like some fruit or cucumbers. And I really did not do a good job rinsing this. Okay, since we're going to use fresh plant material, we don't have to worry about drying it. In fact, you don't want to dry this plant because if you dry it, there's just not going to be much left. It'll literally just turn into little tiny strings and you'll have lost all of your medicinal properties of the plant. So what we're going to do is I like to kind of cut this up into smaller pieces. Get my scissors. So I'm just going to cut that. All right, this is a super, super, super easy way to use this plant. And all you have to do is just put some of this in the cold water, just like what I'm doing here, and let it sit. You can let it sit for a few hours. Or 24 hours. And that's it. That's your cold water infusion. And then you could just be sipping on this, drinking this like a cool, refreshing drink. You could just strain it out very simply whenever you're ready to drink some of it. All right, that is the simplest way that you can use this plant. But if you're really looking to use it medicinally, you're going to want to up your game just a little bit. So the next thing I'm going to show you how to do is a hot water infusion. It's basically going to be the same thing. I'm going to fill up my tea kettle. with some filtered water. Once again, we're going to let that come to a boil. All right, we've cut up our cleavers. We put them in the jar, just like in the cold water infusion. That tastes good. It's nice and fresh. It's very refreshing. You know, it kind of does taste just a little bit like cucumber, so I definitely think cucumbers would go great with this. It smells slightly floral, but not so overwhelming that, you're drinking flowers, which I don't like myself personally. It's tasty. Okay, now our water's coming to a boil. So we're going to go ahead and pour that over top. And now we're going to let this sit for a minimum of 15 to 20 minutes. You can let it sit for much longer. You could let it sit for 24 hours, actually. It's going to continue to extract the medicinal properties out of the plant. You can already tell the difference between the cold water infusion and the hot water infusion. You're starting to see a little more of the green. The chlorophyll is coming out. So this obviously is too hot to drink right now. So we're going to let these just sit. Okay, so the next thing that I want to show you that you can do if you want to try to preserve your cleavers, you could make an oxymel, which is basically a vinegar. Think about like fire cider. That's an oxymel. So you could use vinegar and honey to preserve it. And that's another way to get a lot of the great medicinal properties out of this plant and keep it long term. Because, like I said before, this plant is one of the first plants that comes out in the springtime, and then as soon as it gets hot, it's gonna be done. I mean, it's already sending up flower heads, so it won't be long, and this plant will be finished for the season, and then you won't have any more fresh plant material. So the only way to really preserve it is to make an oxymel, make a tincture. You can do a fresh tincture with this. I would just chop this up, and you'd have to use something that is like an alcohol that's at least 150 proof with your fresh plant material. We can do this. I'm going to show you one more thing you can do that's real simple. I actually don't have any ice trays, so I'm going to have to show you with this little. This is the only ice tray that I have, so I'm going to use this. So I'm going to actually use my NutriBullet, and I'm going to put a little bit of fresh water in here. Just enough that we can liquefy this. So once again, I'm going to chop my cleavers up. Now, I might actually strain these before I put them in here. I don't know, because they're very fibrous. And if you don't have a juicer, so that's the other thing you can do is if you had a juicer, but I'm just going to assume that not everybody can afford a $500 masticating juicer. And you can just use the blender. We're going to use a little strainer. And I probably would keep juicing this. I'd probably juice it just a little bit more than this. But I just want to give you the idea of something that you could do with this plant to preserve it. So now we've gotten a lot of the medicinal properties out of the plant just by juicing it. I say juicing it, blending it. We didn't actually juice it. I know that. Okay. And then I'm going to put that on my compost. Okay, so I'm not the most graceful with my making my ice cubes, but you get the idea. Okay. All right, I probably should have put these on something. Not the most graceful today. Okay, just gonna put this, I should have put this on here on a little tray before just because of the ice cube thing that I'm using. So there they are, and I'm gonna pop these in the freezer. All right, and then you're gonna have cleaver juice available to you to use for the rest of the year, okay? So that is really the most easiest way to use this plant. Here, I'll show you the ice cubes now that they're frozen. Just a quick reminder, when you make your hot water and your cold water infusions, just be sure to refrigerate those once you've made them, and they'll keep 2 to 3 days in the refrigerator. All right, thanks for watching.